In
The
1992,
I-70
a man with
killer.
dull red hair and sleepy eyes stalked
Dull red
retail
hair, sleepy
stores
eyes.
along Interstate 70 between Indianapolis and Wichita.
Ooh.
He selected businesses that were under-trafficked and understaffed. He surveyed shops from the parking lot, looking through plate glass to determine if the potential victim fit his profile.
Ooh.
He would pretend to be a customer, casing the interior of the building to determine if they were truly alone.
Ooh.
Then, he would ambush his victim with a
strike.
.22 caliber pistol,
Oh, he bitch.
escorting them out of view and executing them with a
I feel like
shot
if you're
to the
gonna
back
murder
of the
me,
head.
you gotta give me a
He
chance.
came to be known
You're not gonna pull a
as the
gun out at me and try to
I-70
kill me like that, bro.
claiming
Pull the
6
knife out and let's get
victims
active.
within
Let me get one, bro.
Some
Let me get one. I'm not saying
speculate he is connected to
I'd
another spree
you know,
of killings in
I'd
Texas
beat a killer with a
that
knife
is
trying to kill
known
me,
as the
but
I-35
I'm
killer.
gonna make him work for it for
At the
sure.
time of
For sure.
investigation, some detectives described these cases as going cold as soon as the crime was committed. They were left with few leads and even fewer suspects. These cases have remained unsolved for decades. To this day, the I-70 killer has not been caught.
What the fuck?
The St.
still out
Charles Police Department in Missouri renewed their investigation efforts in October 2021, reuniting a task force between multiple state and federal agencies. They
Yo, imagine being a
plan to
murderer from
re-examine
1970,
thousands of case
and it's
files
2021, you hear
tucked
they open
into
up your
10
case.
cabinet
Like, what are you
drawers
doing?
within the walls of the precinct building. They will review all the evidence they have on the 6 murders
You running
that
away? You
occurred
think
in
they're gonna get you at this point? Or
1992
you
along
feeling like you
Interstate
standing on
70,
like they ain't
and
caught me all the
3
way up here?
murders that occurred in 1993 along Interstate 35. The story of the I-70 killer begins with Robin Fuldauer.
Pandox. Like panda, but with an ox at the end. The I-70 killings. You know, I'm guessing a train station. Ooh. I'm fucking with his music.
On
Robin
April 8th,
Fuldauer.
1992, Robin Fuldauer, age 26, had to cover the afternoon shift at Payless Shoe Source when one of her employees called off. She was the manager, and the store only had 2 full-time employees with several part-timers. The limited staff meant this wasn't her first time being called in, and she would likely have to work the store alone. Located on the outer edge of Indianapolis at 7325 Pendleton Pike, the store had lax security measures. There were no cameras or alarm systems. The only precaution was a buzzer that notified employees when someone entered the store. Police are uncertain of the specifics of that afternoon. They would later review transactions conducted at the register to determine a timeline. The last purchase occurred at 1:12 p.m., including 1 pair of men's shoes and 1 pair of women's shoes. Police believe that shortly after, Fuldauer was escorted to the storage room in the back of the building. There, she was fatally shot with a .22 caliber pistol. The perpetrator entered
I'm gonna be honest though, if I'm working my job, if I'm at Payless, middle of the night, 1970, and you pull out the gun, you go walk. You got the gun in my back, and we're walking. We're going to the back. I gotta get mine, bro. I'm sorry. I know it's dumb. I know it's stupid. You should walk, but I'm thinking like, there's no way you're coming to Payless to come and rob all the shoes, bro. I know you're about to kill me. I gotta get mine off, bro. I gotta give you a fight. That's a fact.
This was a robbery gone wrong. However, this would soon come to change.
Next door at the Speedway station, customers still can't believe someone was killed just next door. Police are sticking with the theory the motive for the killing is robbery. Fuldauer, who was working alone at the time of the killing, died of a gunshot wound to the head.
Damn. R.I.P. the Folster. Patricia
Smith and Patricia Majors.
Damn, he got 2.
23 and 32.
Did he get a 2 and 1? Or?
Worked at La Bride d'Elegance.
Oh, he got a 2 and 1.
A bridal shop at 4613 East Kellogg in Wichita, Kansas. Majors owned the store with her husband, and Smith was a part-time employee who was working as a bridal consultant while pursuing a nursing degree.
Damn.
The store was scheduled to close at 6 p.m. that night. However, the 2 women planned to stay late for a male customer who needed to pick up a cummerbund.
The fuck
Smith's
is that?
husband, Norman, waited up for her, and when she didn't return home after work at 6:15 p.m., he called the store. There was no answer. Police believed the 2 women opened the doors to a man thinking their customer had arrived. Tragically, it was the I-70 killer, armed with a .22 caliber semi-automatic firearm. He led the 2 women to the back of the bridal shop, to a room that served as a work area and office. It was there that he shot both women in the back of the head. The perpetrator emptied the register, and as he was fleeing the store, he encountered the male customer who had arrived to pick up his cummerbund.
Oh my God!
He ordered the man into the store at gunpoint, but in an act of defiance, the man refused and fled the scene, luckily without incident. This witness would later provide police with a sketch of the perpetrator. He was described as 5'7" and 150 pounds with dull red hair cut short. His face was stubbled. The police matched ballistics at the scene with those found with Foldauer, and law enforcement knew they were dealing with a serial killer.
A lot of serial killers back in the day, bro, 60s to like 90s, wasn't it? And it kind of died off. It was like, you ain't getting away with that shit. But back in the day, man, I'm be honest, you pretty much shit. You got out time.
40, was working at Sylvia's ceramic shop on April 27th, 1992. Located at 2615 South 3rd Street in Terre Haute, Indiana, the store belonged to McCown's mother. With no video evidence or witnesses, detectives have tried to recreate the chain of events. It's likely that McCown was directed by a customer to retrieve a small white ceramic house on a shelf behind the counter. When he turned to grab the house, he was shot at close range to the back of the head. Some sources cite gunpowder stippling at the wound, suggesting the barrel of the gun was less than 4 inches away.
Damn.
The register had not been emptied, and $15 remained in McCown's pocket. However, his wallet was gone. The slaying of Michael McCown differed in many ways from the modus operandi of the I-70 killer. McCown was the sole male victim, and he was not escorted to a back room. It has been widely reported that McCown had long hair and an earring at the time of death, suggesting he could have been mistaken for a woman. However, this has been called into question. One of his sisters revealed that McCown had short hair at the time of the killing. Additionally, at such close range, it would be difficult to mistake his gender. These differences suggest the I-70 killer could have been more opportunistic than originally profiled. McCown may not have fit the preferred victim is a bit profile, crazy, huh? But he was slain anyway. It may also suggest that the I-70 killer was less spontaneous than originally believed. It's important to note that Sylvia's store was typically operated by McCown's mother. Perhaps the store had been surveyed at a previous date, identifying McCown's mother as a preferred victim, only to discover her son at the register on April 27th.
Damn. Nancy
Kitzmiller, age 24, managed Boot Village, a Western footwear shop in St. Charles, Missouri, just outside St. Louis. She had recently graduated with a degree in geography from Oklahoma State. and she was weeks away from starting a job with the Defense Mapping Agency.
Damn.
She was filling in for an employee who had called off, and her shift started at noon that day. The store was located between a beauty salon and veterinary clinic in Bogey Hills Plaza, and on that day it was busy with shoppers. Witnesses spotted Kitzmiller helping a customer at 2:30 p.m. They described him as medium height with dull red hair. Only minutes later, she was found by customers in the office at the rear of the store. She had been shot in the head. A small amount of cash was missing from the register, but the perpetrator had already fled the scene.
Is that the last one? Oh no. Sarah
On May
Blessing.
7th, 1992, Sarah Blessing,
So it was from like the 70s? I don't remember what
the store of many colors
you said the
around
first
noon.
year.
The New Age shop was located in Raytown,
We had
Missouri,
it went through the 80s,
near
didn't it?
Kansas City,
Damn.
in the Woodson Village Shopping Center. It was typically worked by only one employee at a time. At 6:15 p.m., Tim Hickman, the owner of a VHS store that neighbored the store of many colors, spotted an unidentified man loitering in the area. He was described as having dark hair, wearing a tweed jacket that would have been too warm for the weather. Hickman later heard a pop through the cinder block walls that separated their stores. He spotted the man exiting the store of many colors until he rounded the corner and disappeared behind the building. Hickman found Blessing face down in the back room of her store with a gunshot wound to the head. His eyewitness account gave police another opportunity to create a sketch, hoping it would drum up more leads. More than 2 other witnesses would spot the man just a mile away from Interstate 70. The 6 murders along Interstate 70 were connected through ballistics. The perpetrator had used the same .22 caliber ammunition and pistol in all 6 killings. The victim profiles matched for all but McCown. The killer was hunting female store clerks, young brunettes, and he was murdering them execution style. This wasn't about robbery. This was about homicide. For some, this is the end of the spree for the I-70 killer. However, many believe he continued his killings a year later and just a few states away.
Oh shit. Say you swear.
Mary Ann Glasscock, age 51, owned and worked the register at Emporium Antiques in Fort Worth, Texas. The store was located at 4709 Bryce, near Interstate 35. Glasscock phoned a repairman to reschedule an appointment as she would be late to her shop. Robert Johnson arrived at the store at 11:30 a.m. and found a female customer waiting outside. She told him that she had been knocking, but the store appeared to be empty. Johnson entered the unlocked store and found Glasscock partially nude with her pants pulled to her ankles. She had suffered a gunshot wound to the head, and she lay in a pool of blood. Nearby, a .22 caliber shell casing was found. The perpetrator had emptied the register and taken Glasscock's keys. However,
well, I don't know,
her
the other
car
dude
was
wasn't
found
taking
in
any
the
money.
parking lot by investigators. Glasscock's murder was similar to the I-70 killings in many ways. A single female brunette store clerk shot execution style with a .22 caliber pistol. Robbery didn't seem to be the motive, and the killer left with a trophy. However, ballistics wouldn't match the previous spree of killings, and Texas investigators rejected the notion that these killings were committed by the same perpetrator.
Maybe some other killer was like inspired by this shit or whatever.
Amy Vess, aged 22, worked the register at Dancer's Closet, a dance apparel store located at 4001 West Green Oaks in Arlington, Texas. This location was only a short drive away from the scene of Glasscock's murder. Similar to Nancy Kitzmiller, Vess was not meant to be working on that evening.
Damn.
She had been called into the dance shop to cover a shift.
Damn.
Sometime between 6:15
Yo, I'm
p.m.
gonna be honest.
and 6:22
If I cover
p.m.,
your shift
a stranger
and I get
entered the
fucking
store
murdered,
and
you
ordered
better
the
go.
woman
You better,
to the
hey,
back
bro.
room.
You better go try to find that
There,
motherfucker.
he shot
I'm
her
hounding the
twice,
fuck out of you. You got me
once in the
fucked up.
neck behind the
I'm
left
over here
ear,
caught up trying to
and
fill in
once
for you,
in
dog.
the back
For
of
real.
the head. As he fled the store, he emptied the register of $200 and disappeared. One source reported that the neighboring store owner saw a strange man in the parking lot at 6:15 p.m. He was wearing a wig and white headband. When investigators of the I-70 killings heard about Vess, they were anxious to connect the cases. They identified the matching MO and victim profile, proposing that ballistics didn't match because the killer had simply switched weapons. Again, Texas investigators were reluctant to
that
connect
could be
the
a
cases.
very reasonable
They admitted there were
explanation for it.
similarities, but they remained unconvinced. Vicky Webb, aged 35, worked the register at Alternatives Gift Shop. It was located in the Rice Village shopping district,
Wake up, bro.
across from Houston's Rice University. It was 10 a.m. that Saturday when a short man with shaggy hair, estimated at 50 years old, entered the store briefly,
Damn.
leaving only to return a little more than
No,
an
I'm
hour
not gonna lie,
later.
bro. He was doing his biggest one, bro. He was
spoke
really
at
like the
length with
LeBron
Webb.
of this murder shit, bro. He was
told
out
her
here
his
from
niece
young
was
to
on her
old,
way
from
to
the
meet him.
70s to the 90s.
Similar
Was
to his
the
interaction
telling
with
the game,
McCown,
bro.
he
Literally.
attempted to purchase an item, a small copper picture frame. During the transaction, he shot Webb in the back of the neck,
Damn.
and the bullet struck her between the second and third vertebrae. She was paralyzed from the waist down, but
Damn.
still alive. The man jumped the counter
Nah,
and
he a
emptied the
bitch.
register of $75.
I'd be pissed, bro.
Then, he pulled Webb's pants to her ankles, just as he had done with Marianne Glasscock. He put the gun to her head and pulled the trigger. But the gun
Did she
misfired.
survive? Oh.
He laughed at this, but before he could clear the jam, he was startled by a vehicle outside and fled the scene. Webb was even luckier, as doctors discovered she had an abnormally large spine, which allowed her to rehabilitate after her injury,
Oh, so she wasn't
regaining
paralyzed?
the ability to walk after just 3 weeks. Webb would be the only surviving victim.
Oh, see, I shouldn't have done that. I redlined the fucking interface. That's fucked. What was her sketch looking like? Criminal profile.
Investigators of the I-70 and I-35 killings began to compare notes and piece together a profile of their perpetrator. Their physical description came from the surviving eyewitnesses. The perpetrator had
That one off to
lazy
the right
eyelids.
looks crazy.
He was described as looking sleepy. He was between 35 and 50 years old at the time. He had thinning red hair combed forward, and he was of average build and height. He was regularly described as having a stubbled beard. In 2012, the St. Charles Police Department revealed additional information about the .22 caliber pistol used in the I-70 killings. They suggested it could have been an Intratec Scorpion or Irma
fuck is
Werke
that?
model
That
ET-22.
shit kind of like gangster.
The ammunition was CCI brand .22 caliber long
Uh-oh.
rifle copper-clad lead bullets. This ammunition and caliber are among the most popular in the United States. There was one distinguishing trait about the ammunition used in these killings. It contained traces of corundum and rouge.
What does that mean?
Corundum is an abrasive and rouge is a lubricant. This suggested that the perpetrator could have been employed as a machinist, familiar with grinding or polishing metals. Alternatively, these materials are used in the maintenance of weapons. The rouge may have been used to polish the feed ramp for the pistol. Or, these materials could have been used in a process known as fire lapping. Fire lapping is when bullets are coated in a lubricated abrasive and fired through the barrel to clean or change the rifling of a weapon. As there remains little evidence, criminal profiling will likely be necessary to identify suspects. The following is a limited profile of the I-70 killer. He targeted small stores off Interstates 70 and 35. These were not heavily trafficked establishments, which suggested that robbery was not a motive, although he did take small amounts of cash from the registers at each scene.
So because there was not a lot of people, it means he didn't want to rob
and
it?
Sold goods suggested the stores
No,
would
I don't think he was
females.
trying to rob anybody either.
La Bride d'Elegance and Sylvia Ceramics, along with craft stores and boot shops.
I think it was probably the same guy, the dude in Dallas and the dude in
killer
Indiana.
was selecting these stores as they would have a higher potential for a victim who fit his preferred profile. The
guy with the brick wall that was like the store next door, he said he saw him too.
Exhibited by the killer
described the other dude too.
He was an organized serial killer. These individuals are often characterized as having
you just
high
fucked me up with that one in the right ear, boss.
Underemployment, social competence, and more. They plan their offenses, often targeting strangers, and they demand complete submission from their victims. While the prevailing theory is that these murders were simply opportunistic, many of the characteristics suggest this killer was organized and methodical. The I-70 killer was a spree killer, operating in short bursts before going dormant. This demonstrates the killer was capable of regulating his urges. Some speculate that the long distances suggested that he may have been a traveling salesman, truck driver, or construction subcontractor. If this is the case,
he could have been a
his
truck driver,
vehicle was likely branded for business and would have been easily recognizable. Every crime scene neighbors a nearby residential area, and it has been suggested that the killer parked in these residential areas and walked to the crime scene, only fleeing to his vehicle off-site after the commission of a crime.
It's making more sense now.
That
Why
the
haven't they run
I-70
DNA on this shit?
killer was somewhat familiar with his intended targets, and the areas surrounding his potential crime scenes could have been scouted beforehand. Perhaps these killings weren't acts of pure spontaneity. Perhaps the
spontaneity, that's a banger word, ain't it?
Selecting employees who fit his profile and returning at another date to commit his crime. The bullets of his weapon had ejection marks, suggesting that the killer was using a weapon with a high-capacity ammo clip. This means he arrived at the scene prepared to shoot much more than 1 or 2 bullets. In 2021, the St. Charles Police Department renewed their efforts to crack this cold case. They released an age-progressed police sketch
that is a
and
garbage
reunited
ass
the
fucking
original agencies involved in the investigation. They sent samples for DNA testing.
Like you just took the
as
fucking one from
technological
before and gave him a little bit of hair.
allow for improved testing of trace evidence. As of November 2021, results are still pending. Additionally, investigators received a new lead connected to a similar crime in 2001.
Uh-oh.
The convenience store robbery and murder of clerk Billy Brossman. This murder occurred just 7 blocks away from the murder of Michael McCown.
He got the gun out.
Although the crime was featured on America's Most Wanted, it has never been solved. Police have stated that there are similarities between the cases, but ballistics don't match the 1992 murders.
Well, he could have just used a different fucking gun.
Others have suggested that deceased serial killer Neil Falls could have been the I-70 killer. In 2015, Falls attempted to abduct a sex worker, Heather Saul, in her home in West Virginia. During the attempted abduction, Saul broke free and fatally shot Falls. When investigating the crime scene, police found handcuffs, knives, bulletproof vests, shovels, machetes, hammers, and more in Falls' trunk. Police connected objects in his vehicle to 9 other murdered women, some of whom were located in Illinois.
Oh no.
Falls was in his 20s at the time of the 1992 murders, living in Kansas. He resembled the police sketches and matched the physical descriptions given by witnesses. He was an organized serial killer with a hatred for women. In 2018, police tested some of his belongings, but investigators found no definitive connection to the I-70 killings.
How'd you do that?
Interstate highways run like veins through America. Traffic coursing through cities and small towns.
Yo, what are you doing if you're driving in the highway, right?
But
you're going like this.
They can be part of a dark underbelly.
You look to the right, and the dude off to the right looks at you like this. Access. Covered in blood.
These highways are frequent hunting
covered in blood.
For
He
monsters.
just drives. Looks
the
over.
I-70 killer
picks up the gun
one of those
and like
monsters.
shits you with the gun.
Preying
I just thought about that. That's a banger. That would be a banger Tarantino scene.
Hauntingly, he is still
just had to give you that little bit of knowledge that I was thinking right there. You know, I never keep no secret from you. This is a good ass video, but I was fucking dying during it, bro. Your voice is mad monotone, bro. Not trying to hate. That was a banger vid. I'm subbing up right now. Hit you with the like. But god damn, you had me sleeping, bro. Slumbering. I was really energized to start.